Imagine this. Your child is 30 years old, they have their own life, their own home, maybe their own family, and they call you, not because something is wrong, not because they need something, just because they want to talk to you, just because you are someone they want in their life. Now imagine the opposite. Your child is 30 years old, and you realize, slowly and painfully, that they only call when they have to. That visits feel obligatory, that conversations are polite but empty, that somewhere along the way, without a single dramatic fight, without a clear moment you can point to, your child chose distance, chose to keep you at the edge of their life instead of the center of it. No parent watching this video wants that second scenario. And here is what I need you to hear right now before anything else. That outcome is not inevitable. It is not destiny. It is not about how much you love your child, because almost every parent loves their child deeply. It is about something else entirely. Something that happens quietly, in ordinary moments, over years. And the fact that you are here, watching this, already puts you ahead of most. This video is not here to make you feel like a bad parent. It is here to show you what is happening inside your child's mind, why some children grow up and choose to walk away, and exactly what you can do, starting today, to make sure that never becomes your story. To understand why an adult child eventually chooses to create distance from their parents, you first need to understand something fundamental about how a child's mind works. And this is where most parenting conversations get it wrong, because they focus on behavior when they should be focusing on perception. Here is the truth. Children do not remember your life the way you lived it. They remember their life the way they felt it. You might remember a childhood where you provided everything, where you worked hard, where you sacrificed, where you were always there physically. And all of that might be completely true. But what your child was storing, what their developing brain was filing away year after year, was not a list of things you did, it was a feeling. A repeated, consistent emotional experience of what it felt like to be your child. Neuroscience gives us a very clear picture of this. The brain of a child is not a rational machine that weighs evidence and draws balanced conclusions. It is an emotional recorder. It picks up on tone of voice, on facial expressions, on whether they felt seen or invisible, heard or dismissed, safe or on edge. And those recordings do not disappear. They become the foundation of how that child understands relationships, love, and their own worth. They carry those recordings into adulthood, and eventually, consciously or not, they make decisions based on them. This is not about blame. This is about biology. This is about understanding that the small moments, the ones that seemed insignificant at the time, were never small to your child. Their brain was paying attention even when you thought they weren't. Even when they were 4 years old, and you think they won't remember. Even when they were playing in the other room, and you thought they couldn't hear. Children are always processing, always feeling, always building a picture of the world and their place in it, based largely on you. Now let's talk about the specific patterns that, over time, lead a child to emotionally and eventually physically distance themselves from their parents. These are not dramatic events in most cases. They are quiet, repeated dynamics that accumulate like layers, and recognizing them is the first and most important step. The first pattern is chronic emotional unavailability. This does not mean you were never home. It does not mean you never spent time with your child. It means that when you were there, you were not fully there. Your body was present, but your attention was elsewhere. On your phone, on your stress, on your own worries. And your child felt it. Every time they tried to show you something, and you gave them half your attention. Every time they wanted to talk and you were distracted. Every time they needed you to be emotionally present and you were somewhere else in your mind. A child who grows up feeling like they are competing for their parents' attention eventually stops competing. They stop reaching out, and that habit of not reaching out follows them into adulthood. The second pattern is conditional love, whether intentional or not. Conditional love does not always look like what you imagine. It is not always harsh or obvious. Sometimes it looks like this. Your child does well at school and you are warm, proud, engaged. Your child struggles and you become distant, disappointed, or critical. What the child learns is not, "My parents love me." What they learn is, "My parents love the version of me that performs well." And a child who grows up believing that love must be earned will one day decide that the performance is too exhausting, that it is easier to keep their distance than to keep trying to be enough. The third pattern is dismissing or minimizing their emotional experience. We talked about this in our previous video on emotional withdrawal, but here it goes even deeper. When a child is repeatedly told, in words or in attitude, that what they feel is wrong, too much, or unnecessary, they do not just stop sharing. They start to resent. A child who cried and was told to stop crying. A child who was scared and was told there was nothing to be scared of. A child who was sad and was told they had no reason to be sad. That child grows up feeling fundamentally misunderstood by their parents. And one of the most powerful human drives is the need to be understood. When people consistently fail to make us feel understood, we naturally move away from them, not out of cruelty, out of self-preservation. The fourth pattern is control disguised as love. This one is particularly important to understand because it is the pattern that parents are least likely to recognize in themselves, precisely because it comes from a place of genuine care. Controlling parenting looks like making decisions for your child without involving them. It looks like dismissing their opinions, their interests, their choices because you know better. It looks like using guilt as a tool to keep them close. It looks like making them feel responsible for your emotional state. After everything I have done for you, you are breaking my heart. If you loved me, you would do this. These phrases, even when they come from real pain, teach the child that love comes with conditions and obligations. And when that child becomes an adult and finally has the freedom to choose, they often choose space, not because they don't love you, but because loving you has always felt suffocating. The fifth pattern is a home environment that never felt emotionally safe, not necessarily dangerous, not necessarily full of conflict, but a home where tension was always underneath the surface, where certain topics could never be discussed, where emotions were something to be managed and hidden rather than expressed and understood, where the child always had to read the room, adjust their mood to yours, be careful about what they said and how they said it. A child who spends years walking on eggshells does not grow up and run back to that feeling. They grow up and they breathe out. And breathing out, for them, means distance. Here is where everything changes. Because everything we have talked about so far, every pattern, every cause, every dynamic, is something you can work with starting right now. You do not need to have been a perfect parent until today. You just need to be willing to understand and to grow. And that willingness is already worth more than you know. The first and most powerful thing you can do is choose presence over perfection. Stop trying to be the parent who never makes mistakes and start being the parent who is genuinely there. Put the phone down when your child is talking to you. Get on the floor and play with them even when you are tired. Ask them questions about their world and actually listen to the answers without rushing to the next thing. Your child does not need you to be flawless. They need to feel that they matter enough for your full attention. That feeling, repeated consistently over years, becomes the foundation of a relationship that lasts a lifetime. The second thing is to love them without conditions, out loud and on purpose. Tell your child you love them when they fail, not just when they succeed. When they disappoint you, lead with connection before correction. When they make a mistake, make sure the first thing they feel is that your love is not going anywhere, and then address the behavior. A child who grows up knowing that your love does not depend on their performance does not need to run from you when life gets hard. They run toward you, because you are safe. The third thing is to let them have their emotional experience without trying to fix it or minimize it. When your child is upset, resist the instinct to immediately solve the problem or tell them it is not a big deal. Sit with them in it. Say, "I can see this really hurts. I am here." Those 4 words, "I am here," do more for a child's sense of security than almost anything else you can offer. You are teaching them that emotions are not emergencies. That feeling something hard does not mean they are alone. And a child who learns that lesson from you will always want to come back to you when life gets difficult. The fourth thing is to give them room to be themselves. This is perhaps the most generous thing a parent can do. Allow your child to have opinions that differ from yours. Allow them to have interests you do not understand. Allow them to make age-appropriate choices and experience the consequences, with you beside them, not ahead of them clearing every obstacle. A child who grows up feeling that they are allowed to be fully themselves around their parents does not need to escape those parents to find freedom. They can be free and still choose to be close. That is the kind of relationship that lasts. The fifth thing is to repair when you get it wrong, and you will get it wrong. Every parent does. The question is not whether you will make mistakes. The question is what you do after. Apologizing to your child, genuinely and without excuses, is one of the most powerful things you can model. It teaches them that repair is possible, that love does not require perfection, that relationships survive mistakes when people are willing to take responsibility. A parent who says, "I was wrong, I am sorry, I want to do better," is a parent that a child, even as an adult, will want to keep in their life. And finally, start now. Whatever age your child is today, whether they are 5 or 15 or 20, it is not too late to shift the dynamic. It is not too late to become more present, more open, more emotionally available. Relationships are built in moments, and there are still moments ahead of you. The fact that you are watching this, that you are thinking about this, that you care enough to ask these questions, means that you are already the kind of parent who can change the story. One day your child will be an adult. They will wake up in their own life, and they will make a quiet, almost unconscious choice about how much space you occupy in it. That choice will not be made in a single moment. It will be the sum of thousands of small moments that came before, moments where they felt seen or invisible, loved or judged, free or trapped, safe or guarded. You are building that sum right now. Every conversation, every reaction, every time you choose to listen instead of dismiss, every time you put them before your own discomfort, every time you show up not as a perfect parent, but as a real, present, loving one. The children who grow up and choose to stay close are not the ones who had the easiest childhoods. They are the ones who grew up feeling that home was a place where they were truly known, where they were loved completely, where they always had someone in their corner. Be that for your child, not because you are afraid of being walked away from, but because they deserve it. And so do you. If this video made you think, share it with another parent who might need to hear it. And if you want to keep learning about what truly goes on inside your child's mind, subscribe and stay with us.